Hello, and the big news today is Huobi, His Excellency's exchange, might be insolvent, and maybe His Excellency Justin Sun might just go to jail because it was reported, although denied by Huobi's spokesperson, that several high-level Huobi executives have been led off to the gulags by the Chinese police. Now, Justin Sun isn't exactly a Huobi executive, but he might be the one pulling strings behind things because we know he is a big investor in Huobi. So, what is causing this? Well, unfortunately, people pulled a lot of money out. And data shows that people actually pulled $44.8 million out of Huobi reserves in stablecoins. So a spokesperson for Huobi is denying reports that several executives were arrested in China as outflow from the exchange picks up. Of course, China does not want Huobi to collapse, and there might be a lot of people hurt and angry. Over the weekend, financial media in Hong Kong, which is opening up to crypto, reported that several executives at Huobi had been taken away by police in China. And when you're taken away by the Chinese police, many times you don't come back. According to data from Nansen.ai, Huobi stablecoin exchange balances have dipped by 33% in the past week, with traders withdrawing $49 million in stables. Maybe Justin Sun has gotten on the bad side of the Chinese government and they decided to eliminate him once and for all, and his company, Huobi. So earlier, Colin Wu of Wu Blockchain had posted that a large number of senior executives of offshore cryptocurrency exchanges have been detained and investigated by the Chinese police. And he didn't give specifics, but now we know it might have to do with Huobi and Justin Sun. And of course, if you look on DeFi Llama, the Huobi has a balance of currently $2.5 billion. The balance is down from $3.1 billion at the start of the year. That's not really surprising. On-chain data also shows that some of the exchange's largest holdings are from tokens connected to the Justin Sun universe of companies and protocols. That's not really all that surprising either, as TRX actually does represent about 26%, and that is second right after Bitcoin. And I think Huobi token represents about 20%. So basically, like a lot of the DeFi volume is represented by both Tron and Huobi token. So those could definitely take a hit. I would be a little bit careful if you hold large amounts of Tron or Huobi token right now, because this stuff, if your executives get arrested, like all of them, it definitely might hinder your performance. So Huobi has roughly $1 billion in liquid assets, including $886 million in Bitcoin, 48.27 million in USDT, and 5.41 million USDC. But I don't really know what's going to compensate for their Bitcoin and for their TRX and Huobi deposits in their treasury. So this is not very good news for obviously Justin Sun, Huobi investors, or BitTorrent investors. The Chinese government is investing into Huobi, and it looks like they have arrested a lot of the Huobi executives. So if I was a Huobi investor, I think it's time to just get a little bit nervous about what your exchange is actually doing. Of course, like the Chinese outflow is going to make the funds flow out of Huobi even faster at this point. So definitely watch it if you're invested in Huobi, Tron, or any Justin Sun product. Doge might actually be getting a boost soon, and its future and its creator thinks this is kind of weird because it is reliant on the Futurama appearance in the next season. Futurama, I haven't watched it in years and years, but when I was younger, I did watch it pretty often. I still remember like Bender and some of the other characters. It was a pretty good show. But, you know, like with Simpsons, Futurama, these are like cultural phenomenons. And obviously, Doge being a meme coin, it does actually help if it actually appears on these big, media that everyone watches. Remember how much a single presentation by Elon Musk on SNL rose Doge. Now, I'm not saying that Futurama will actually do that, because obviously they're not Elon Musk or anything, or they're not Saturday Night Live. And, like this stuff has appeared in The Simpsons before, so it probably doesn't have that big of an effect. But I could believe that it would actually make more people even aware of Doge, and it could bring in more investors into the Doge community. And that would obviously be good for Dogecoin holders. That would actually give it a little bit of a pump. The more media it has, the more eyeballs it can attract, the better for something like Doge. Because Doge is a meme coin. It does kind of like depend on that stuff. And if you actually have that stuff happen, people will stay interested and keep buying the coin, looking maybe like for something in the future, more media appearances and more adoption. As long as they keep that ball rolling, you got a chance to actually make your meme coin big. And Doge is already pretty big, but it could be a lot bigger, especially with these TV appearances and getting more people to know about Doge. Curve has recovered about 73% of its funds. That is very, very fast, but that also means there's 27% that has not been covered. And that is a lot of money when you've been hacked for as much as Curve has. So they've actually organized a bounty system where they will pay $1.8 million as a reward. It's a public bounty if you can actually catch the person, drag them to court, and basically send him to jail. So this is kind of like a bounty hunter scenario, and the bounty is $1.8 million to catch the other hacker of Curve. So I think they're going to be getting a lot of fake calls from people saying that they have the original person that actually took the money from CRV. This really has to do with bad smart contracts and bad security, and they definitely need to fix that. But this is a smart way to get some of the money back at least. So 73% of funds stolen have come back. That means 27% has not come back. They're looking for the guy. They're offering a big bounty. So he's basically got a big target on their head. So you can see like how much has actually been returned. And like the amount returned over the white hat. So more or less, like a lot of it is, a lot of the Curve stuff is actually resolved, but there's still a ton of money that is still not returned to its rightful investors. And that's got to worry some CRV people. But, like CRV might not be as devastated as I originally thought, because they have actually gotten most of the funds returned, and I think they can afford to pay out the rest if worse comes to worse. So the ecosystem isn't completely dead. Although I would say like people might have a little bit more trouble trusting in Curve right now, but it is not dead. The ecosystem is still alive and going, and they have gotten most of the funds back. So if you're a Curve investor, rejoice. You might not be completely dead yet and out and down in the dumps. You have a chance. And we got some other news that some of you may not be so happy about. Docs to Pay WorldCoin has actually been doing extremely well since the launch. Now, a lot of you don't like Docs to Pay, but they've been expanding in poorer countries, and people in poorer countries are more than willing to Docs to Pay if you give them a couple of days' salary, which could be as cheap as like $50. You're not going to convince too many people to do much for $50 these days in the United States. But let's say you're in Kenya and you offer the equivalent of $50. That is like 3 days worth of income. So people will line up and get to it. And many of the users have actually said, yeah, I don't really care about this. It's the money that I like. So basically, World ID signups increased by 2x in the week following its launch from beta. WorldCoin claims weekly active World app users increased by 3x. Weekly account creations increased by 3x. Weekly global World ID verifications increased by more than 100% in the week following WorldCoin's launch out of beta, signaling a dramatic increase in demand according to the Identity Protocol's official blog. So obviously it's fake demand because of the incentives that WorldCoin is offering for you to actually get scanned. And obviously, like I said, in poorer countries, that is a huge incentive. What they're saying, what's noteworthy here is that the rate of World ID verifications has already doubled once in 2023. I mean, they were kind of in beta before, so that's nothing really new. Between in January and July, World ID signups went from 1 million to 2 million in less than half the time it took to reach the first million. The first million is going to be a lot harder. Once you have that network effect, people are going to want to, get their eyeballs scanned or like they want to FOMO in. Last week's 2x growth in weekly World ID signups demonstrates a sustained increase in global demand for World ID as a standalone product. I think governments will really like this because I do think it actually makes it easier for them to actually track people. I don't really know about the users. Coinciding with the increase in World ID verifications was a threefold increase in weekly active World app users and more than tenfold increase in weekly account creations. Obviously, people are actually creating to get their free money from this airdrop, and a lot of those people are probably going to be in poorer nations where they are just really, really desperate to actually get this money because it could pay for a couple of days worth of food, and that is entirely completely understandable. But I know a lot of you won't be happy with this. But yeah, WorldCoin is being very successful right now at doing what they want to do. And unfortunately, it looks like many people in the developing world are going to get doxxed in exchange for maybe a day's worth of food rations. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.